Hello, everybody. So, after I got my home office set up, which I was very happy to have, I decided I would get the beds situated so that the guest room beds would be, in a spot where I guess it works. I will say, I'm not happy with how it looks totally where they are, but it is at least better than it was before, because I at least have the home office space now, and it is a huge help to have that, finally have that space. But this was quite a project. There is just so much junk in this room that it was honestly awful, trying to get the beds where they go, where I wanted them to go, and trying to figure out where to put them. My initial idea was to put them along that wall you see there, not the wall with the hanging down black marker board. I can't call it a whiteboard, but I can't call it a blackboard. But it's like it's like a whiteboard except it's black. But it's not a blackboard because it's not chalk. Does that make sense? Anyway, so I wanted to put both beds along that wall, but if I did that, it would block me from getting to my desk. So what I ended up doing was I put one against that wall, and then the other is right in front of my desk, long ways. And that's the best I can come up with for this room. I did have to section off this room because it's a lot. There's just so much stuff in here, and I don't have a place for all of it. And that's what I'm aiming to change. I'm aiming to make this room less of a nightmare, because this room is a nightmare. So a lot of the work in here was just trying to move stuff around and get it to fit. That was probably the biggest part of this whole project. And then to try and not break anything while doing that. Now, while I'm cleaning this room up, my husband was in the other room, and he was putting the shelves back in the closet, because after I did all that work, making the closet all nice in our room, all the shelving just crashed down. It had been kind of heading that way for years, but it finally it finally was time for it to fall, I guess. So he was getting that installed, the shelving back installed in there, and luckily that's up now, so we can finally hang our clothes up again. But yeah. Well, I wonder what everyone's thinking about today. I'm kind of thinking about, I don't know, I'm just excited for July. June felt like it took forever, and it was not really that fun. So July has been pretty fun so far for me. And I'm actually don't have this pre-recorded very far in advance like some of the other videos I did, so it's about mid-July right now while I'm filming this. And we got some fun stuff planned, so I think it'll be good. The other thing about this bed is there's this screw or something that pokes out from the back of it, and it kept scraping the wall, and that was really annoying. I don't know. I need to deal with that somehow, some way. But I don't know. I know one day I'll be able to have this as just a guest room, and maybe have the other room be an office. But yeah, it is what it is right now. So we're gonna make this tiny space work for us, and find out how we can make it work. Because we will find a way. We will. I am determined to make this room work somehow. So I think I'm going to split the rest of this, this whole guest area into, well, it's really 4 parts, but one of the parts is just the focus on the home office area. So the rest is going to be part 1, part 2, part 3 of this guest room. So part 1 was getting the bed situated, because this ended up taking almost 2 hours. I think it was like 1:45 when I stopped recording. I couldn't believe like how much time that took. It was nuts. And then I need to do another part where I deal with all the just stuff, because there's so much stuff in here, and find out where to put it all, where it should all go. I think that's the biggest thing about dealing with clutter, is it needs to have a place to go. Everything in your house needs to have a home. And this is the room where things just do not have a home, and this is where they go and suffer. And then, so I also have all of the filing stuff in here, because just for safety, I try to keep all our documents for at least 10 years. So there are 2 pretty big filing cabinets in here. One fits in the closet and one does not. So I'm going to need to figure out where to put that filing cabinet. I have all the crafting supplies in here because we like to craft. And then I did put all our like mail in here to quarantine, but I recently built a bookshelf that I put in our room, and I'm putting all our like quarantine mail there. So at least that's not going to take up a bed anymore. Then what we also keep in here, in addition to the quarantining of stuff, this is just a way that helps me stay organized, was to put things we need for each day on that spot. So the good thing about the bookshelf is it can double duty. So yeah, I said duty. So it's 5 shelves, but 2 of the shelves can each have 2 days. And so for each day, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we set the mail for that day. It can just sit there for a week. And then we can put things we need for each day on there. So it's like organized, and then we know, oh yeah, this is what I need to have on Monday or Tuesday or whatever. And that way that stuff doesn't like take up as much brain space. Because I think a lot of the mental clutter can be really stressful as well. It's like, oh, now I got to remember that I need X, Y, and Z on Monday, and I need to get A, B, and C on Tuesday. But then it's like, where do I set it so I actually remember it? And I don't know. Does anyone else struggle with that? It's like, I think it's an executive functioning thing. But that's the strategy that works for me, is to have it sorted by day. I always used to say, like, if I was like super rich, I would have a room in the house for each day of the week. And I would also want to have like an area for each month for like the decorations and stuff. So anyway, that there's still some of the like staged stuff from days of the week in here that can go out. So that'll be good. We're planning a party, so there's a lot of like party junk that gets left on one of the beds here. That's gonna at least go out, so that'll take care of a lot of stuff. We also have a bunch of junk that is gonna go to other people. I don't know why I referred to it as junk, but it's stuff we don't want, and it's mental clutter, it's physical clutter, it's stress. The clutter translates to stress. So that's going to go. I also have like our old photos and stuff in here. I have old journals. I have a lot of like memorabilia stuff in here. That's where it goes. In the house, we have stuff that I'm trying to sell and get rid of that, but it's just been kind of hanging around. No one was buying it, so I'm thinking about just getting rid of it. But then there's like the other side of me that's like, oh, that's a waste of potential money. I don't know. I'll have to decide and see if that's worth it. I originally was not going to organize this dresser here. Like when I I had to lift it over the bed literally to get that bed to fit and then get the dresser somewhere. At least it's small, so it can kind of go almost anywhere. But yeah, I had to lift it over the bed, and my first thought was like, someday I will organize this dresser again. I couldn't believe I found a Slim Jim in there. I don't know how old that is or how it got in there. At least it's packaged. I was like, someday I will organize this. Today is not the day. And then the drawers, like, I was struggling to get those back in, especially to get them on the tracks. I'm really bad at that. But I struggled my way through it and did the best I could. And I was like, well, I'm just going to organize the drawers. So it's done. It's organized enough. It's not perfect. So that top drawer, as you can see, I have like a bunch of tissue paper and like packing supply stuff. I don't like to throw it away when we get tissue paper and gift bags, if I can help it. It just seems really wasteful when I could just reuse it. And because I'm like that, I've never had to buy a gift bag, which is awesome. It's nice to be able to just reuse it. And then this bottom drawer has all the like excess tape supply of the duct tape and like packing tape stuff. It's got a bunch of rubber bands that I have no idea why my husband bought because we have a giant rubber band ball. But anyway, he bought it, and so got to find some way to store it. I think it was a really long time ago that he bought it. But yeah, I have this giant rubber band ball in the kitchen, and I made it because I was like, oh, this would be a cool way to store the rubber bands. I wonder what he would do if I just added all of those to the rubber band ball. But I think some of them are probably too small to stretch around it. Anyway, it's probably better that I did get to organize those drawers so I don't have to think about it anymore. So we've got one bed finally situated. That was a relief. And then we get to the second bed, and I'm like, oh, this room is a nightmare. It's a nightmare. But we're going to do it. We're going to power through. We're going to try and not scrape up the wall or the floor. I'm going to climb over the beds over and over, trying to inch this bed to where it needs to be. I'm going to struggle through and get stuff away from the closet doors so I can actually close them, and then that will free up some space to shift this bed around. We're going to do it. We're going to get there. So I was trying to get that black whiteboard back on the wall, and then I realized that the screws were not out enough, so I had to go get a screwdriver to get one of the screws out enough so that it would actually hang. The door was actually blocked with all the just junk in here when I'm trying to like shift everything around. So luckily my husband happened to walk by at that moment. I'm like, hey, can you please get me a screwdriver? He's like, what kind? I'm like, I don't know, just a generic screwdriver. I'm not that handy, and I can't always tell, what it is I'm going to need. But he just got me, a regular Phillips screwdriver, and was able to get it to work that way. So it was all good. Luckily, he knows his stuff, even though I don't, and when it comes to being handy and tools. I'd like to get better at it. In addition to that bookshelf I was talking about, I got the bookshelf. I got actually another bookshelf for my daughter's room, and then I got a desk, and I actually built one of those pieces of furniture correctly. Yay! My daughter's bookshelf actually turned out a lot better than the last time I tried to build her a bookshelf. It's actually still in her room, but what I did was I somehow messed up on what was the top and what was the bottom. And so I had to literally like flip it upside down because it was too late to go back because I'd already nailed the backboard of it in. So I couldn't go unscrew it all and fix it. And so I had to turn the bookshelf upside down. But you know what? It's functional. And that's what matters right now. And then I did not have the best skill in putting our bookshelf together, the one that I put in our room. But, you know, it's functional too. It is. The one I did get right was the desk, because it was literally all you had to do was screw the legs into it, and like the rest of the slab was like already built. It was just a really simple desk with one drawer already pre-installed in it. Every time I think I'm done buying furniture, I end up needing more. Hopefully I'm done now. We'll see. We'll see about that. Okay, is it just me, or like does anyone else just not like the feeling of when sheets are tucked in? So, like, I don't know. To me, it feels like my feet are trapped. Like, it's such a bad feeling. My husband will tuck in the covers if he makes our bed, and then I literally have to like rip it out from under the bed from where it's tucked in, so that I don't feel that trapped feeling with my feet. I don't know. I want to be able to kick around and toss and turn. Is that just me? Are there other people that want their feet feeling more free? I don't know. Anyway, that's why I don't like to have tucked in sheets. It just doesn't feel as good. It was so nice getting this bed looking all cute and put together. And then by the end of this, I end up putting all the stuff that I didn't want to lose when I'm shoveling all this stuff around. I put that on this bed because the other bed was like crammed full of stuff. And there's certain things, like I said, like it's staging for the next like the upcoming week of supplies we need or stuff we need. It's not going to be here soon because it'll be shifted somewhere else where it can hopefully look better and be better. But yeah, so there was a lot of junk on that bed, as you can see. And that bed ended up becoming clear of stuff, but the things that I'm worried about getting lost, like for the upcoming days that we need it, I stick onto the other bed. So that's how I resolved that for now. But hopefully that bed will be cleared soon. And I'm hoping to deal with the pile of stuff next, and then maybe the closet after that. We'll see how that goes. We'll see. I eventually have to get to our room. That's the room I'm dreading even more than this. This used to be my most dreaded room. I did a lot of work on it, believe it or not, especially the closet part over the last few months or so. I had 4 giant plastic bins full of papers. Just paper. That's like the worst clutter for me is paper clutter. And I got through all of that and got everything either filed or shredded, or put in the shred pile, I should say. Some of it still hasn't been shredded. But you know what? I did it. That was a lot of work. And then I organized everything into categories. And that's in the closet now, mostly. The one thing that's going to be difficult to find a home for are all those cushions that are in here. Because before we can take the cushions out of here, we need to put those onto the what do you call it? I'm blanking. The furniture for outside that we were given. We can't put the furniture we were given outside onto the porch until the porch is completely redone. We haven't been able to find anyone who will work on the porch. We've tried so many contractors. We've tried like a ton of roofers because we know the roof is probably where you need to start. And just nothing. It has just been completely fruitless. I don't know what to do other than some sort of DIY for it, which my husband would be doing because he's more handy than I am. Now, I actually found out from a friend that she's starting some sort of like handy person business, so she might be able to take a look at it. But she's been super busy, so she hasn't come by to look at our patio, which desperately needs work. So, I don't know. I don't know when that's going to happen, but it really needs to happen. Hopefully sooner rather than later. That patio's been just a wreck for years. It's so hideous. Like, I really hate this pebbly flooring that it has. Every time you walk out there barefoot, the pebbles come off to your feet. It's super uncomfortable. It had a leak, which I'm pretty sure my husband was able to patch up. It doesn't seem to be leaking anymore. But the damage from that leak that it had needs to be repaired. And I want the floor redone because it's so hideous and uncomfortable and awful. So, I don't know. We prioritized all the like structural stuff first that needed to be done, and then we prioritized getting the inside of the house actually nice, which, as you can see with this room, we're still working on because this has been like the toughest room. Our room actually has a nice layout. It's just that it's ended up getting really cluttered, so it's gonna need kind of an overhaul. I'm considering shifting the furniture around in there too, but at the same time, I don't know where else it should go. What I do like about the positioning of the home office stuff that I put here, that I set up in here, is that the desk faces toward the door. So anytime someone opens the door, I am looking directly at them. And I remember somebody saying, like, oh man, I shifted my desk around so I'm facing the door, and it makes me feel so powerful. And you know what? This is the first time I've tried doing that, and it really does. I feel nice and powerful and put together. I like it. I'm very ecstatic about my home office because that's something I've been wanting for years, and I finally get to sort of have one now. Even though it's not a full room, it's just a quarter of a room, it is absolutely worth it to have a space that feels like a workspace where I'm not like embarrassed to set up to do telehealth or video chat or whatever I need to do or want to do in a place where there's some privacy because it's the guest room and I can close the door there. So having both of those qualities, it's awesome. And also to just, I don't know, it's like my little corner of the room. And it's nice to have a space that I can work at. I tried to set it up in our bedroom to have a little workspace because there's a desk in there, but it just, I don't know. It just feels too crammed, I guess. And then, like, in the background, you would just see the bed, which feels a bit weird. And then if I shifted it to the other side of the room, because I used to try and set up over there, you see these, like, yellow triangles on the wall. And I'm still convinced that, okay, so I had this job interview, like, years ago. And first of all, they, like, couldn't get Zoom to work. They couldn't figure it out or something. And so they had me get on my iPad, which is super, super old. The only, like, iCloud name I have is, like, Sherlock Holmes related. And so I had to give them my, like, Sherlock Holmes related email address to be able to FaceTime, which was super awkward. And then I feel like they didn't like me because they asked about the yellow triangles on the wall. And I was like, oh, it's, related to this video game that I like to play. Because I don't know. I had heard things about the company of like, oh yeah, we've been talking you up to, my friends worked there. I had a couple of friends working there, and they were like, we've been talking you up to them, and we really want you to come work with us. So we're so excited for you to interview. So I guess I was a little bit too comfortable. I don't know. Of like, oh, these are nice people. Anyway, I think they didn't like that I said it was related to a video game, and then I think they didn't like that I mentioned ethics a lot, because I was like, oh yeah, my friends told me that this is a really ethical company, which is genuinely the most important thing to me in a company. And I should have known better in a way. So probably when I mentioned ethics repeatedly, they were like, no, we don't want to hire that guy. That's just what I was thinking. I don't know. But I'd make it a point to not really talk about ethics in interviews ever since then. I also have a feeling like I came off very neurodivergent, and that was also because I was trying to be more of myself, you know. I had a bad mindset for that interview, I guess. And one of them still works with a friend, so it's awkward, I guess. I've never told that friend just how much I think that guy hates me, but I just got the sense from him that he hated me the whole time. And I remember he even asked me in the interview well, why haven't you done this kind of work? Like why haven't you worked with the biological parents when there's a foster kid or something like that? And I'm I didn't say that I haven't, but I will say that often the cases that are given to me, I don't have access to that biological parent. I don't know. He just had a bad attitude toward me the whole time. And I still feel like he hates me. I don't know. And I don't know if that's just me making things up in my head. Maybe he's perfectly fine with me and doesn't hate me. That's certainly happened in my life before. But whatever. I don't really have to interact with. Who knows? I remember one time I was actually really wrong about that. There was this girl at school that I thought totally hated me, but she was in the same friend group as me. Oh, yeah, I was so excited that I finally got that against the wall. So that took a long time to inch over. Anyway, so I had this really big friend group in 5th grade, and here we go with some childhood social relationship trauma here, especially my neurodivergent self. So I told this April Fool's joke to one of my friends in that group. I, for some reason, didn't say April Fool's. I don't know what was wrong with me. I was just really socially inept back then. Again, neurodivergent. I need social rules spelled out for me very clearly. And that has been one of the biggest things that my husband has done for me, is he will spell out the social rules for me so that I'm oh, okay, so that's the social rule. That's why all these weird neurotypical people are looking at me weird or acting like I'm weird for breaking that stupid social rule. Anyway, so it was my fault. I should have been more clear that I was joking and would never have actually done it. But I said something like, oh, I want to get popular and tell all your secrets, which was a really jerk thing of me to say, even if it was a joke. Anyway, 11-year-old, whatever. It's in the past. I've learned from that. So the whole friend group got mad at me, and because obviously she was upset by that. Who wouldn't be? And then the one girl that I thought always hated me was apparently the only person asking them to give me a chance and explain myself for how I had acted. And I was like, wow, so the whole time you were the only one that actually really, I don't know, liked me or gave me enough respect. It was such a weird situation too, because there was a leader of that friend group, and that leader of the friend group was okay, I'm gonna test you both so we see which one of you to throw out. And he literally had us do all these random tasks at recess, and then that's for the party, pin the tail on the alien cat. That took hours to complete. Anyway, so he had us do all these random tasks at recess on the playground. We both completed them successfully. The last task was you need to lick my shoe or kiss my shoe or something like that. And at that point, I'm like, that's disgusting. I'm not going to do that. But the girl did. And so she got to stay in the friend group. And I went to go find a new friend group. Then, like, after all that incident, they acted like they would let me back into the friend group. I think this was a few months later, or maybe a few weeks later. Who knows my sense of time. But a couple of them were like, oh, let's go out to the field together at recess. So I went out with them, naive me. And then they, like, attacked me. They stole my lunchbox, and they were, like, grabbing my arm and doing that, Indian burn thing is what they used to call it, which is, now that I think about it, like a really racist name. But anyway, I don't know what else to call it. They were, like, wringing my arm so that it hurt, and it was, like, really red. But I, in self-defense, like, grabbed my lunchbox and pushed them off of me, which they immediately responded by saying, ooh, we're going to tell the office. So then they went to the office and told on me. I went and was like, I'm telling my side of the story too, because you guys attacked me. And then me and the girl that I had said all that stuff in the first place too about I'm going to tell your secrets, she and I got lunch detention. So more social trauma there. Let's see. There was one time in that friend group before all that incident, before the initial incident where I said the mean thing to that one friend. So this was a totally different set of friends. They did the whole, like, Mean Girls thing where, like, one of them called me up and I'm going to run out of time here. You know what? I'm going to finish it even though it's a black screen. So basically one of them said, oh, so-and-so is being really mean to me at this sleepover, and they got me to say, like, all these mean things in response of, like, oh, that person really sucks, how dare they be so mean. I thought I was being protective. Like, that's how I had learned at that point, of, like, oh, you show protectiveness by dissing the person that's being mean, or whatever. Anyway, then it turned out that she had that other girl on the line the whole time, and then they were like, oh, that's how you really feel about me, and then they hung up and were mad at me. Anyway, tell me about your social trauma. No, I'm just kidding. But, it's really hard growing up being neurodivergent and, like, not understanding those kind of dynamics. Anyway, I appreciate you sticking with me through this, and I hope y'all have a great day, and see you later. Bye.